We've asked what happens when plankton finally wins. We've seen entire worlds fall. But today, we're dealing with someone, something different. Because this isn't a villain who could take over Bikini Bottom. It's one who absolutely should have. He can summon spirits, command an army of ghosts to appear anywhere, anytime. If he wanted to, Bikini Bottom could be all his. And yet, he hasn't. The Flying Dutchman. So, what would it actually take to push him over the edge?
I couldn't hear myself thinking with this one around.
And what happens when he finally snaps? Before we set the scene, we need to break down what the Flying Dutchman can actually do. Because the show plays him off as a joke. But the moment you look closer, he's one of the most overpowered characters in the entire series. In Shanghai, he doesn't just capture SpongeBob, Patrick and Squidward, he's planning on eating them. No calls for help, no escape, because they're trapped on a ship that exists between realities. And the only reason they don't become free of the Dutchman's 5 a day is because SpongeBob makes a wish that turns him vegetarian. And next up, Born Again Krabs, where he's past empty threats and instead claiming souls. Instantly producing a legally binding soul contract dragging Mr. Krabs towards Davy Jones' locker like it's already a done deal.
Here we are!
And when SpongeBob sacrifices his own soul, the Dutchman doesn't lose, he just gets annoyed. Granting mercy, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. Which means in this universe, their souls aren't a birthright, they're negotiable, and the Dutchman holds all the bargaining power. Then there's Ghost Host, where he doesn't just scare people, but he casually transforms living beings into anything he wants. Not tricks, not illusions, actual matter manipulation. So, here's the verdict. The Flying Dutchman isn't just a villain, he's an apex predator operating above the rules of Bikini Bottom. So the real question isn't can he do it, it's what's stopping him. Across every canon appearance, the Flying Dutchman gets what he wants, and then he leaves. He feeds on fear, he demands respect. Sometimes, he just wants his dining sock.
That's my socks. Everyone knows I can't eat without it. Never.
Classic ghost behaviour. But here's the key detail. The only time he's ever been truly shaken is when Bikini Bottom stopped being afraid of him.
Maybe people just don't believe in ghosts anymore.
So, here's the scenario. What if SpongeBob's relentless optimism spreads? What if Bikini Bottom stops fearing the Dutchman? Not through bravery or valour, but through sheer weirdness and joy. If the fear is gone, he wouldn't retreat, he'd escalate. And that escalation becomes our conquest. Okay, wait. So SpongeBob's happiness causes a supernatural takeover? Yeah, that actually makes sense. Night 1. The Dutchman doesn't send a warning, he mobilises an entire army of ghosts, and he starts his conquest over the city, district by district. First target, Sandy's lab. Arguably the smartest mind in Bikini Bottom. Fearful this may have happened one day, she built ghost detection tech. It works, it finds him, and that's it. Because detection doesn't stop him, containment doesn't stop him. He phases straight through her system in seconds. Mr. Krabs does what Mr. Krabs does. He tries to negotiate.
What do you want from me?
He offers money. Useless. The Dutchman doesn't want wealth. He wants control. So Krabs offers something bigger. The Krusty Krab itself. And the Dutchman accepts. Not because he needs it, but because it sends a message. This isn't a friendly neighbourhood restaurant anymore. It's his throne room. Squidward is the first resident to fold. Within 24 hours, he sucks up and volunteers himself as court composer. Finally, an audience that can't leave. And the Dutchman? He doesn't care, but he lets it happen. Of course Squidward folds immediately. Of course he does. Plankton? Weirdly thriving. His whole brand is failure. Empty restaurant, no customers, constant misery. So when the Dutchman takes over, he fits right in. Even gets promoted to food commissioner, which is useless for a population that doesn't eat. Patrick. Completely unaffected. Too dumb to understand what's happening. Put it this way, you can't haunt someone who thinks,
"Is mayonnaise an instrument?"
And SpongeBob? He just keeps working. Still flipping Krabby Patties, now in a haunted kitchen. And to him, it's kind of charming, which means for the first time, the Flying Dutchman begins to see cracks. He's being ignored. Now, the obvious saviour is King Neptune, a literal god, an absolute authority. We've seen what he can do. He nearly fried Mr. Krabs and didn't hesitate to threaten SpongeBob with the same fate. But here's the problem. Neptune and Dutchman operate on the same level. And Neptune? He's inconsistent, emotional, easily manipulated. And even if Neptune does intervene, it may already be too late. Through those soul contracts, the Dutchman doesn't just control the city, he has ownership over souls. This isn't an invasion anymore, it's paperwork, and the Dutchman comes with the receipts, which leaves one real resistance: SpongeBob. Not because he's fearless. SpongeBob does get scared, constantly, but it never sticks. It bounces off him. Water off a sponge's back, if you will.
Eddie. That tickled.
And that means fear, the Flying Dutchman's greatest weapon, simply doesn't work on him. So, in a city where everyone else is haunted into submission, SpongeBob becomes the destabilising force. Because Bikini Bottom isn't just strange, it's ungovernable. Too weird, too chaotic, too genuinely joyful. The Dutchman can take over, but he can't control it. Here's what this scenario actually reveals. The Flying Dutchman doesn't conquer Bikini Bottom because he doesn't want to. He wants an audience, because conquest kills the reaction. And without that reaction, there's nothing left for him to feed on. Because here's what happens next. Bikini Bottom adapts. The fear fades. The chaos stays. Life continues. In the real world, fish don't stay scared forever. They habituate. They'll scatter at first, but if the threat is empty, they eventually stop reacting. And that's exactly what happens here. The Dutchman doesn't break Bikini Bottom. Bikini Bottom recalibrates around him. He can occupy the city. He can haunt every street. But he can't make it care. And once the fear is gone, so is his power. Because the Flying Dutchman was never ruling Bikini Bottom. He was performing for it.
And release! I love this job!
It turns out the one thing he can't haunt is SpongeBob's attitude. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.